What if I told you that millions of years before Freddy Krueger terrorized dreamers with his razor-sharp gloves, there was a real-life nightmare prowling the earth? Meet Utahraptor, the dinosaur that might make Freddy's glove look like a toy. While Freddy haunted the fictional streets of Elm Street, Utahraptor roamed the prehistoric landscapes of the Early Cretaceous, wielding its own set of deadly tools: enormous sickle-shaped claws, razor-sharp teeth, and an unparalleled predatory instinct. If Freddy Krueger was built for psychological horror, Utahraptor was designed for sheer primal terror. Imagine a predator nearly 7 meters or 23 feet long, weighing up to 550 kilograms or 1,100 pounds, and equipped with claws over 9 inches long. Yes, bigger than Freddy's blades. While not the largest predator of its time, Utahraptor's adaptations made it one of the deadliest and most efficient hunters in its ecosystem. It was a true giant among dromaeosaurs, the raptor family of dinosaurs. And unlike the fictional Freddy, Utahraptor didn't need dreams to hunt its victims. It had speed, agility, and precision that made it a nightmare for anything it set its sights on. Utahraptor is the largest dromaeosaurid dinosaur that lived in Early Cretaceous Utah, approximately 135 to 130 million years ago. Utahraptor was first described back in 1993 by American paleontologist James Kirkland and his team. They named the species Utahraptor Migrate after studying fossils that had been dug up earlier from Utah's Cedar Mountain Formation. As a heavily built, ground-dwelling bipedal carnivore, its large size and variety of unique features have earned it attention in both pop culture and the scientific community. The jaws of Utahraptor were lined with small, serrated teeth that were used in conjunction with a large, killing claw on its second toe to dispatch its prey. Its skull was boxy and elongated, akin to other dromaeosaurids like Dromaeosaurus and Velociraptor. It was less capable of jumping great heights like the Utahraptor's smaller, leaner relatives. However, the dinosaur didn't even need to jump to attack prey when its sheer size and weight could be used to overpower a victim. Utahraptor belongs to the subfamily Dromaeosauridae, home to the biggest members of the raptor family, including heavyweights like Utahraptor, Dakota, and Utahraptor. As a carnivore, it was perfectly adapted to hunt other animals in the Cedar Mountain Formation, like ankylosaurs and iguanodons. What's really interesting is that its leg structure suggests it wasn't built for long chases like some of its dromaeosaur cousins. Instead, Utahraptor was likely an ambush predator, relying on stealth and surprise to take down its prey. Although we have never found feathers directly associated with Utahraptor fossils, there is strong evidence to suggest it had them. Here's why. Microraptor, one of the oldest known dromaeosaurids, was fully feathered and is considered more primitive than Utahraptor. Since feathers were a common feature in dromaeosaurids, it's safe to assume they were a trait shared by the whole family. Feathers likely evolved just once, so unless we find clear evidence proving otherwise, it makes sense to think Utahraptor had them too. Plus, larger dromaeosaurs, like Dakota had quill knobs, bony markers where feathers attached, showing that even the big guys kept their plumage. While we can't say for certain, it's highly likely that Utahraptor had feathers. Predatory behavior. Kirkland and his team noted that Utahraptor's massive size made it slower than smaller raptors like Deinonychus or Velociraptor. Instead, its speed was comparable to iguanodonts of its time, though it was still faster than sauropods. Its thick tibia indicates that its legs were built for power, allowing it to deliver strong, forceful kicks to subdue prey. Unlike its lighter relatives, which may have relied on hand claws for balance while kicking, Utahraptor's robust build meant it could kick without losing stability, leaving its hands free to deal a finishing blow. Paleontologist Gregory Scott Paul described Utahraptor as an ambush predator. using its strength and stealth to target large dinosaurs like iguanodonts and therizinosaurs. Its stocky frame, massive sickle claws, and powerful jaws were perfectly adapted for hunting prey of this size, setting it apart from the more agile, fast-moving raptors like Velociraptor. How raptors actually used those deadly claws. Let's talk about those Utahraptor claws. The claws on their second toes could reach up to 24 centimeters or 9.5 inches. To put that in perspective, a good working knife might have a 8.9 centimeter or 3.5 inch blade, and a classic fighting knife is around 17.8 centimeters or 7 inches long. But even that tough guy comes up short when compared to a Utahraptor claw. It's 2 inches or 5 centimeters shorter. Now imagine wielding a weapon like that. Those claws weren't just for intimidation. When they were swung, they could tear through flesh, and that's exactly how paleontologist John Ostrom described the Deinonychus claw back in 1969. He thought they used their massive claws combined with powerful kicks to slice into large herbivores like ceratopsians. But hold up, things get even more interesting when you start comparing those claws to modern birds. Utahraptor's claws aren't that different from the ones you'd find on some seriously dangerous birds today, like ostriches and cassowaries. Not everyone agrees on how they used them though, and Philip Manning had a different take. Instead of seeing them as slashing tools, he thought of them more like stabbing weapons. His biomechanical studies, including X-ray imaging, suggested that the claws were built to handle stress, making them not only great for stabbing, but also for climbing. He compared them to the claws of modern birds of prey like eagles that use their talons to grab and hold onto prey. So it's possible that the Utahraptor claw was a versatile tool, part stabbing weapon, part climbing aid. Now let's talk about raptor prey restraint, or RPR. It sounds like something straight out of martial arts, but it's actually a theory about how raptors killed their prey. Some paleontologists think Utahraptor used its sickle claws to pin down prey, just like modern birds of prey. Since their jaws aren't as powerful as a T-Rex's, they probably used those claws to hold onto their prey while tearing it apart with their mouths. Gross? Yes. Effective? Definitely. It's kind of like watching a golden eagle take down something way bigger than itself. Reindeer, goats, even dogs. If a bird of prey can do that, then Utahraptor could have definitely taken down large prey. And looking at fossils like the famous one of a Velociraptor fighting a Protoceratops, it's clear these raptors were going after big game too. How smart was Utahraptor? Alright, let's dive into dinosaur smarts. The thing is, we can't really know for sure how clever they were, since, brains don't fossilize well. But scientists usually go off brain-to-body ratio, which gives us a rough idea. Troodon is the smarty pants of the dino world with the biggest brain compared to its body size. This little guy probably had killer senses, sharp eyesight, good hearing, and a nose that could sniff out trouble. Some experts think Troodon might have even hunted in packs, kind of like how wolves work together. Now that's pretty clever. But what about Utahraptor? Well, it's not exactly the Einstein of the Mesozoic era. Its brain was smaller compared to its body, so it wasn't out there cracking codes or setting traps for prey. Nah, this guy was probably more about using its size, claws, and speed to get the job done. But that doesn't mean it was brainless. It likely had some solid instincts, good vision, and decent hearing, just enough to take down big meals. Think of it like this. Modern birds are actually pretty clever. They can figure stuff out, solve problems, and adapt to all kinds of situations. Utahraptor might not have been outsmarting prey with puzzles, but it probably had its own tricks for hunting and survival. And then there are wolves. These guys are smart, right? They work together in packs and use strategy to hunt. Utahraptor might not have been running with a whole crew like that, but maybe it hunted in smaller groups or used some ambush tactics. Still, we don't have solid proof of that. So yeah, Utahraptor wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but it wasn't a total doofus either. It was smart enough to be a top predator, using its instincts, senses, and sheer power to get by. Not bad for a big bad dino. 9-ton sandstone block of Utahraptor fossils. In 2001, James Kirkland and his team investigated a massive 9-ton sandstone block in eastern Utah after a graduate student spotted a bone protruding from it. Inside, they uncovered fossils of at least 7 Utahraptor individuals, including an adult about 4.8 meters or 16 feet long, several juveniles, and a hatchling around 1 meter or 3.3 feet in length. Among the remains was at least one possible iguanodont. Kirkland proposed that the Utahraptor pack may have become trapped while trying to scavenge or attack prey stuck in quicksand. Simple predator traps, like the Cleveland Lloyd Quarry and La Brea tar pits, show how animals could get caught while attempting to feed. If Kirkland's theory is correct, this could be one of the most well-preserved examples of such a site, potentially revealing new insights into Utahraptor's behavior. Ongoing excavations have revealed even more fossils, suggesting there may be twice as many Utahraptor remains as initially thought. These findings raise questions about whether they hunted in groups or were trapped individually over time. Interestingly, a 2020 study on Deinonychus suggests it didn't exhibit complex pack hunting behavior, as differences in diet between adults and juveniles indicate they likely didn't live in family groups. Whether Utahraptor shared this behavior remains uncertain, but further studies of this site could help shed light on how these predators lived. Contemporary dinosaurs. So, in the same world as Utahraptor, Gastonia was doing just fine with its tough armored body and low wide stance. This herbivore wasn't easy pickings for predators like Utahraptor. It was covered in bony plates and spikes, making it a pain to take down. The interactions between these two would have been like a wild game of predator versus prey, each one using its own tricks to survive. Then you've got Iguanocolossus, another big herbivore wandering around the same area. This beast was strong and probably hung out in groups, so it would have been a serious challenge for Utahraptor to bring down. But hey, it also could have been a chance for Utahraptor to score a meal if the opportunity came up. These two were just part of a bigger, crazy ecosystem, each with its own role. And don't forget the giant Pseudarasaurus. With its long neck and massive size, this one wasn't exactly a snack for Utahraptor. But if a younger or weaker Pseudarasaurus was hanging around, it could have been a target for Utahraptor's deadly hunting skills. It just shows how crazy and brutal the predator-prey game was back then. Did Utahraptor migrate? So let's talk about whether Utahraptor might have migrated. During the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous, the Atlantic Ocean wasn't fully separated yet, meaning there was this land bridge between North America and Europe. This allowed animals to travel between the two continents. Scientists call this faunal interchange, and there's actually evidence of animals typically found in Europe, like megalosaurs, turriosaurs, and iguanodonts, showing up in North America. If animals could make that journey one way, it makes sense that they could do it the other way too. Now, there's a bit of a fun thought. Could Utahraptor have migrated to Europe? That idea was shown in the 1999 Walking with Dinosaurs series, but as cool as that sounds, there's no concrete evidence yet that Utahraptor or any big raptors like it made it across the Atlantic to Europe. As for where Utahraptor lived, the environment in eastern Utah where it roamed wasn't all that different from the Morrison Formation in the late Jurassic. You know, the same area where Allosaurus and Stegosaurus once roamed. That area was a flat, semi-arid landscape with broad plains and forests, kind of like a giant savanna. The climate was hot and dry, with short wet seasons and long dry stretches. In Utah, during the time Utahraptor lived, the landscape was described as internally drained. This basically means that rivers didn't flow outward toward the sea, but instead ran into depressions in the ground, creating big lakes or maybe a few smaller ones. Fossil sites like Dalton Wells show signs of this, with layers of sandstone and marl, the type of clay and calcium carbonate mix you find around alkaline lakes. These lakes were fed by seasonal floods, so Utahraptor would have lived in an environment with a lot of water, even though it was mostly a dry landscape. So, while we can't say for sure whether Utahraptor migrated, we do know it lived in a pretty unique environment that would have made it thrive in its own patch of the world. Utahraptor's Asian cousin. Utahraptor is a genus of large dromaeosaurid theropod dinosaur that lived during the late Cretaceous period about 96 to 89 million years ago, in what is now the Bayan-Shire Formation of Mongolia. While they are not direct relatives, Utahraptor and Utahraptor are closely related within the broader dromaeosaurid family. Utahraptor was a huge ground-dwelling predator. It measured around 15 to 16 feet, about 4.5 to 5 meters long, and weighed between 550 and 770 pounds, around 250 to 350 kilograms. It was one of the biggest raptors, right up there with Utahraptor, Dakota raptor, and Utahraptor. What made Utahraptor stand out was its muscular build. It wasn't like the usual light and fast raptors. This one had stocky, strong legs, a deep body, and a thick, powerful skeleton. It had a robust femur and maxilla, and its pelvis was pretty primitive, with a vertically oriented pubis, which made it different from other dromaeosaurs. Utahraptor was built to hunt, and it wasn't going to let anything get away easily. While there's no direct evidence, it's possible Utahraptor could have hunted in packs, similar to some modern birds of prey. Working together to take down large prey could have been part of its strategy. Think of how modern hawks and eagles team up for big kills. Another cousin from Dakota. Dakotaraptor, which means thief from Dakota, was a badass theropod that roamed western North America during the late Cretaceous period. It was found in the Hell Creek Formation, which dates back to the end of the Mesozoic era, meaning it might have been one of the last surviving raptors before the mass extinction wiped out the dinosaurs. But here's the thing, some scientists argue about whether it's really a dromaeosaur or not. The first remains of Dakotaraptor steinii were discovered in a bone bed with other species, but over time some of the bones thought to belong to it turned out to be from Trionychid turtles. Yeah, not even a raptor. Because of this, it was still unclear if the Dakotaraptor material is even properly classified, especially since the original specimens are now kept in a private collection. When researchers ran phylogenetic analyses, they found that Dakotaraptor could fit in all sorts of places within the dromaeosaur family. So while it's likely part of the raptor family, there's still some mystery surrounding it. Dakotaraptor was huge for a dromaeosaurid, stretching out to about 5.5 meters or 18 feet long. Some studies from 2016 even estimated it could range from 4.35 to 6 meters, or 14.3 to 19.7 feet, and weigh between 220 and 350 kilograms, or 485 to 772 pounds. That puts it in the same weight class as Utahraptor, one of the biggest known raptors. But here's the thing, while it was big, Dakotaraptor didn't have the same proportions or specialized features as Utahraptor. Instead, it looked more like smaller raptors, such as Deinonychus. So think of it as a big, tough raptor, but not quite as stocky or built for the same kind of hunting style as Utahraptor. Dakotaraptor's sickle claw on its second toe was built to bring down prey, with a stronger flexor tubercle than Utahraptor's. The third claw was smaller and likely didn't play a big role in attacking. Fossils show two body types, robust and gracile. Both adults, so the difference isn't age-related. It's likely sexual dimorphism, though we can't tell which was male or female. Despite being too heavy to fly, Dakotaraptor had wide quill knobs on its arms where flight feathers would attach. These feathers might have been used for things like egg protection, display, intimidation, or balance when pinning prey with its sickle claw. The quill knobs suggest it came from a smaller, flying ancestor. Utahraptor versus Velociraptor. Velociraptor and Utahraptor, while both iconic members of the raptor family, were built for entirely different lifestyles. Velociraptor, with its stiffened tail supported by caudal rods and elongated metatarsals, was clearly designed for speed and agility, much like a sprinter. In contrast, Utahraptor lacked caudal rods, had shorter metatarsals, and a longer femur, favoring strength and stability over quick, darting movements. The differences didn't stop there. Velociraptor's short femur allowed for a more efficient stride, perfect for chasing down prey, while Utahraptor's high neural spines and robust pelvis suggest it had powerful back muscles, possibly for climbing or grappling with larger prey. While Velociraptor was light and agile, Utahraptor was bulkier, resembling more of a powerhouse predator. Both dinosaurs possessed the iconic sickle claw, but even here the differences in use are fascinating. While neither species had claws ideal for slashing or disemboweling as often portrayed, the robust sickle claw on Utahraptor might have been better for gripping large prey, whereas Velociraptor could have used it for precision during attacks on smaller animals. Evidence from fossils like the fighting dinosaurs scene shows a Velociraptor engaged in combat with a smaller dinosaur, Protoceratops, suggesting it targeted prey within its weight class. Utahraptor, on the other hand, might have gone after larger prey, relying on brute strength rather than speed. Together, these differences showcase two predators that were adapted to dominate their unique ecological niches. Velociraptor as the nimble hunter and Utahraptor as the heavyweight bruiser.